What if the reason your manifestation hasn't appeared yet is because you keep treating it like it belongs in the future? Most people spend their lives waiting for the right moment, the right sign, the right opportunity. But the truth is, reality changes the moment you stop waiting and start assuming. The moment you feel your desire as something that already happened, your entire world begins to shift. Tonight, you are about to discover one of the fastest manifestation methods ever taught. A method so powerful that it removes time itself from the equation. This is not about forcing reality. It is not about begging the universe. It is about becoming inwardly convinced that your desire is already complete. Because when the mind accepts something as done, reality has no choice but to reflect it. So listen carefully, and more importantly, feel deeply. Most people spend their entire lives emotionally trapped in tomorrow. They wake up thinking their happiness is somewhere ahead of them. They believe success will arrive one day. They believe peace is waiting in the future. And because of this, they continue living in a constant state of longing, hoping, wishing, and searching for evidence that their desires are finally coming true. But the strange truth is this: the more you emotionally place your desire in the future, the more you continue experiencing its absence in the present. Waiting is not passive. Waiting is an assumption. Every time you say, "It will happen someday," you silently confirm that it has not happened now. Every time you desperately look for signs, you reinforce the belief that the desire is still far away from you. This is why so many people remain stuck. They are not manifesting from fulfillment. They are manifesting from separation. The greatest shift happens when you stop waiting for tomorrow and begin living inwardly, as though the desire already became reality. This does not mean pretending for other people. It does not mean forcing fake positivity. It means changing your inner position. It means mentally and emotionally stepping into the version of yourself who no longer feels incomplete. Think about the feeling of receiving wonderful news. The moment something amazing happens, your entire body changes. There is relief, calmness, gratitude, confidence. You stop wondering if it will happen because the question has already been answered. This is the exact emotional state you must learn to enter before the physical world changes. The outer world responds to your dominant state of being. If your dominant state is waiting, reality continues giving you more reasons to wait. If your dominant state is fear, reality mirrors uncertainty back to you. But if your dominant state becomes fulfillment, reality slowly reorganizes itself around that assumption. Most people try to manifest while constantly checking the clock. They count the days. They watch circumstances. They panic when they see no immediate movement. But someone who truly believes their desire is already complete does not behave this way. A fulfilled person is not desperate. A fulfilled person is relaxed internally because the mind has already accepted the outcome. This is why living as if it already happened is so powerful. The subconscious mind responds not to words alone, but to emotional conviction. When you repeatedly feel yourself to already be the person you wish to become, that identity begins hardening into fact within you. And once the inner identity changes, the outer experience must eventually follow. Do not underestimate the power of inner acceptance. A person who inwardly accepts abundance begins making decisions differently. A person who inwardly accepts love carries themselves differently. A person who inwardly accepts success thinks differently. Everything begins changing from the inside first. You do not need to force the world to move. You only need to stop emotionally delaying your own fulfillment. Right now, many people are postponing happiness until circumstances improve. They tell themselves, "I will finally relax when the money arrives. I will finally feel confident when the relationship appears." I will finally feel secure when everything changes. But this way of thinking keeps fulfillment permanently outside of reach. The secret is to reverse the process. Feel secure first, feel grateful first, feel fulfilled first. When the inner state changes, reality begins reflecting in unexpected ways. Opportunities appear naturally, new ideas arrive, doors open, conversations shift, situations begin unfolding differently because your energy, reactions, and assumptions are no longer the same. You are not meant to spend your life chasing tomorrow. Tomorrow never arrives for the person who continues believing fulfillment is somewhere ahead of them. The power has always existed in the present moment. The moment you decide inwardly, it is already done. Something begins shifting immediately within your consciousness. And that inner shift is where every manifestation truly begins. So stop waiting for permission to feel complete. Stop asking reality for proof before you allow yourself to relax. Stop placing your dream life in some distant future. Become the version of yourself who already received the blessing. Walk with that confidence now. Think from that reality now. Feel the relief now. Because the fastest manifestations happen when you stop living as someone who is waiting and start living as someone who already knows. There is something far more powerful than effort, struggle, or endless action. It is the feeling you carry within yourself every single day. Most people believe reality is changed only through physical movement, but the truth is, your outer world begins responding the moment your inner feeling changes. Before circumstances move, before opportunities appear, before visible evidence arrives, something shifts emotionally inside you first. Feeling is the secret force behind manifestation. You may speak positive words all day long, but if your inner feeling remains fearful, doubtful, or empty, the subconscious mind responds to the feeling rather than the words. The subconscious accepts what feels true. This is why two people can repeat the exact same affirmation, yet experience completely different results. One says the words while feeling lack. The other says the words while feeling certainty. One is trying to force belief. The other has emotionally entered the state of fulfillment. And reality always responds faster to feeling than to effort. Think about how quickly fear affects the body. One fearful thought can instantly create anxiety, tension, and panic. The body reacts immediately because feeling carries power. In the same way, when you begin consistently feeling abundance, love, confidence, or success within yourself, your entire state begins changing before the outer world even catches up. Most people unknowingly live in feelings that delay their manifestations. They feel worried about money. They feel insecure about relationships. They feel anxious about the future. Then they wonder why life keeps reflecting the same experiences back to them. But the outer world is only mirroring the emotional identity they continue feeding daily. Your dominant feeling becomes your personal atmosphere. If you constantly feel rejected, life keeps presenting situations that match rejection. If you constantly feel overlooked, life continues reflecting invisibility. But if you begin feeling chosen, valuable, secure, and fulfilled, reality slowly starts reorganizing itself around those emotions. This is why changing your feeling is not superficial motivation. It is transformation at the deepest level. The moment you feel differently, you begin thinking differently. You begin speaking differently. You react differently. Your energy changes naturally without force. And because your state changes, your experiences eventually follow. Many people try to manifest while emotionally remaining in the old story. They visualize for a few minutes, then spend the rest of the day worried, impatient, and frustrated. But manifestation is not about temporary imagination. It is about sustained emotional identity. It is about becoming inwardly familiar with the feeling of already having what you desire. Ask yourself this question honestly. If your desire was already fulfilled, how would you feel right now? Would you feel lighter, calmer, more confident, more grateful? That feeling is not something you must wait for. You can enter it now. And the moment you do, you stop broadcasting desperation into reality. Desperation pushes things away because it constantly announces absence. But fulfillment attracts because it silently communicates completion. A fulfilled person is not obsessed with signs every hour. A fulfilled person carries quiet certainty. This is why feeling creates reality faster than time itself. Time becomes less important when your inner state no longer depends on external confirmation. The moment you emotionally accept something as yours, your resistance begins dissolving. And without resistance, reality can move far more naturally. You do not need to know every step ahead. You do not need to force outcomes. You only need to remain loyal to the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Feel the relationship before it appears. Feel the success before the achievement arrives. Feel the peace before circumstances improve. This is not fantasy. This is training your subconscious mind to accept a new reality as normal. The world outside is always catching up to the world within. That is why your feelings matter more than you realize. Every emotion repeated consistently becomes part of your identity, and your identity shapes the experiences you attract, tolerate, and create. So stop measuring your life only by visible evidence. Stop deciding your emotional state based on current circumstances. Instead, choose the feeling that matches the reality you desire and remain faithful to it daily. Because the person who masters their inner feeling eventually masters their outer world. And once your feeling changes deeply enough, reality can begin changing faster than you ever thought possible. Most people spend their lives chasing what they desire. They chase success, love, peace, money, recognition, and happiness as though these things exist somewhere outside of themselves. They believe fulfillment is distant, difficult, and reserved for the lucky few. Because of this belief, they remain trapped in endless effort, constantly trying to force life to give them what they already believe they do not have. But the deeper truth is this: manifestation was never meant to feel like chasing. The moment you begin chasing something emotionally, you unknowingly place yourself in a state of separation from it. Chasing carries the feeling of, I do not have it yet. And as long as that feeling dominates your consciousness, reality continues reflecting more waiting, more longing, and more distance. This is why so many people exhaust themselves trying to make things happen. They search endlessly for methods, signs, and external confirmation. They become obsessed with timing. They constantly wonder whether they are doing enough. But true manifestation begins only when the chase ends. The secret is not to chase your desire. The secret is to remember it. Remember who you truly are. Remember the version of yourself that already exists beyond fear, limitation, and doubt. Remember the state where fulfillment already feels natural. Deep within you is an awareness that already knows abundance, love, confidence, and peace are possible. But over time, fear and conditioning caused you to forget. Manifestation is not about becoming someone new. It is about returning to the identity you abandoned. Think about how memory feels. When you remember something beautiful from the past, you do not struggle to make it real. You simply revisit the feeling of it. There is no desperate effort because your mind accepts it as something that already exists. This is the same approach you must take toward your desires. Instead of emotionally chasing the future, begin inwardly remembering the reality you wish to experience. Feel it as familiar. Feel it as natural. Feel it as already part of your identity. Most people unknowingly keep their desires distant because they treat them like impossible fantasies. But the subconscious mind responds best to familiarity. The more natural your desired reality feels emotionally, the more easily your mind accepts it as truth. That is why forcing rarely works. Force creates tension. Desperation creates resistance. But remembrance creates ease. A person who constantly chases love feels emotionally incomplete. But a person who remembers their worth carries a completely different energy. A person who chases success feels pressured and fearful. But a person who remembers their inner power moves with confidence and certainty. Everything changes when you stop trying to grab reality and begin embodying it inwardly. The outer world responds not to what you want occasionally, but to what you consistently feel yourself to be. If you repeatedly identify as someone who is lacking, life mirrors lack. If you repeatedly identify as someone who is fulfilled, life gradually reflects fulfillment. This is why inner identity matters more than temporary action. You do not attract what you beg for. You attract what feels natural to you. And this is where remembrance becomes powerful. When you repeatedly return to the feeling of already being the person you desire to become, you slowly dissolve the old identity that kept you trapped. You stop reacting to appearances so strongly. You stop panicking when things seem delayed. You stop doubting every small setback. Why? Because inwardly you already know there is calmness in remembrance. There is certainty in remembrance. There is peace in remembrance. The person who knows inwardly does not need constant proof from the outer world. They continue holding the assumption quietly because they understand that reality follows consciousness. Do not spend your days chasing what you desire as though it exists outside of you. Stop running after fulfillment while emotionally repeating the story that you are incomplete. Stop turning your dreams into distant possibilities. Instead, return inwardly to the version of yourself who already has what you seek. Remember the confidence. Remember the peace. Remember the abundance. Remember the feeling of already being whole. Because the moment you stop chasing and begin remembering, your energy changes completely. And when your inner state changes, reality eventually begins reflecting the identity you have finally accepted as true. What you seek is not as far away as you think. It begins the moment you remember. Most people approach manifestation from a place of effort and uncertainty. They hope things will change someday, but deep inside, they still question whether their desire will truly happen. They continue looking at current circumstances for answers. They study every delay, every obstacle, every problem, and unknowingly give more power to the very reality they wish to escape. But reality does not change because you constantly observe what is wrong. Reality changes when you assume the wish is already finished. The moment you inwardly accept your desire as complete, something begins shifting within your consciousness. You stop emotionally arguing with life. You stop living in fear of what if it never happens. And instead of feeling like someone trying to reach fulfillment, you begin feeling like someone who already possesses it. That inner shift is where all transformation begins. Most people believe physical reality is the cause of their emotions. They think circumstances determine how they feel. But the deeper truth is that your dominant assumptions silently shape the experiences you continue encountering. The outer world is constantly responding to the inner story you repeat most often. If you assume life is difficult, reality continues presenting struggle. If you assume opportunities never come, life mirrors delay. If you assume your desires are impossible, your mind keeps finding evidence to support that belief. But when you begin assuming the wish is already fulfilled, your entire relationship with reality changes. You stop focusing on what is missing. You stop reacting emotionally to temporary appearances. You stop reinforcing the old story. Instead, you begin living from the end. Living from the end means mentally entering the reality you desire so completely that it feels emotionally finished within you. It means carrying the inner calm of someone who no longer feels incomplete. A person whose wish is fulfilled does not spend every day begging for signs. They do not constantly worry about timing. They move through life with quiet confidence because inwardly the matter already feels settled. This is why assumption is so powerful. The subconscious mind accepts repeated assumptions as truth. Whatever you consistently feel and believe eventually becomes impressed upon your inner identity. And once something is impressed deeply enough, reality begins rearranging itself to reflect that belief outwardly. Many people try to change their life while emotionally remaining attached to the old version of themselves. They continue telling the same painful story internally. They continue identifying with disappointment, rejection, fear, and limitation. Then they wonder why nothing changes. But reality cannot mirror a new experience while you remain loyal to the old identity. Transformation requires inner acceptance. You must become emotionally loyal to the version of yourself who already has the desire fulfilled. Feel the relief now. Feel the certainty now. Feel the gratitude now. Do not wait for the outer world to give you permission to feel fulfilled. The outer world changes after the inner assumption changes. This is why some manifestations appear suddenly and unexpectedly. From the outside, it seems like luck or coincidence. But internally, something shifted long before the visible change arrived. The person stopped resisting. They stopped doubting. They stopped emotionally affirming separation. And because their inner world changed, external reality eventually had to rearrange itself accordingly. Life responds to identity more than effort. A person who assumes failure expects disappointment everywhere they go. A person who assumes success naturally notices opportunities. A person who assumes they are loved carries different energy into every interaction. Assumption shapes perception, behavior, reactions, and emotional energy, all of which influence the experiences that unfold around you. This is why your inner world matters more than appearances. Do not become discouraged by temporary circumstances. What you currently see may simply be the reflection of old assumptions. Stay faithful to the new state. Continue occupying the feeling that the wish is already complete. Because reality is not fixed. Reality is always responding. The moment you truly assume the desire is finished, the invisible process of rearrangement begins. Conversations change. Opportunities appear. Doors open. Unexpected pathways emerge. What once seemed impossible begins unfolding naturally. So stop living as someone waiting for life to change first. Become the person who already received the answer. Assume the wish is finished, and allow reality to reorganize itself around the belief you now carry within. The greatest mistake most people make is believing manifestation is only about getting something. They think the goal is simply to attract money, love, success, opportunities, or recognition. But true transformation has never been about merely receiving things externally. The deeper secret is becoming the version of yourself who naturally experiences those things. Everything changes when your identity changes. You cannot continuously think, feel, and behave like the old version of yourself while expecting an entirely different reality to appear. The outer world reflects who you believe you are at the deepest level. This is why some people remain trapped in repeating cycles. Even when opportunities appear, they unconsciously return to old fears, old assumptions, and old emotional patterns because inwardly they never became someone new. Manifestation is not about forcing life to change around you first. It is about changing yourself internally until the new reality feels natural. Ask yourself honestly, if your desire had already arrived, who would you be today? How would you think? How would you speak? How would you carry yourself? How would you react to challenges? These questions matter because your identity silently shapes every experience you attract. A person who sees themselves as confident moves through life differently than someone who feels unworthy. A person who sees themselves as successful notices opportunities differently than someone expecting failure. A person who inwardly feels loved radiates completely different energy than someone who fears rejection. The outer world always responds to the person you believe yourself to be. Most people try to manifest while remaining emotionally attached to the old identity. They still identify with lack. They still speak from fear. They still expect disappointment. Then they become frustrated when nothing changes. But reality cannot consistently reflect a new experience while you continue remaining loyal to the old version of yourself. You must mentally step into the identity of the fulfilled version of you. This does not mean becoming arrogant or pretending to be perfect. It means inwardly accepting that you are no longer the person who constantly doubts, fears, and waits. It means releasing the emotional habits that belong to the old story. The version of you who already received the blessing thinks differently. They no longer obsess over timing. They no longer panic over temporary delays. They no longer beg reality for proof. There is calmness in their mind because inwardly they already feel complete. This is why inner identity matters more than external action. Two people can take the exact same action while experiencing completely different outcomes because their assumptions about themselves are different. One acts from desperation, the other acts from certainty. One fears failure, the other expects success naturally. Energy always reveals identity. You can often feel when someone is deeply secure within themselves. They are not constantly chasing approval. They are not emotionally collapsing over every obstacle. There is stability within them because they have accepted a different self concept internally. And this is exactly what manifestation requires. You must stop identifying as someone who is waiting for life to begin. Stop identifying as the person who always struggles, always loses, always fears, or always doubts. Those identities create emotional patterns that continue reproducing the same experiences. A new reality requires a new self-image. Begin seeing yourself differently now. Walk as the version of you who already succeeded. Think as the version of you who already received the opportunity. Feel as the version of you who already lives in abundance. Do not wait for external proof before changing your self-concept. If you wait for circumstances first, you remain trapped in the old cycle. Transformation begins internally before it appears physically. At first, the outer world may still show traces of the old story, but do not become discouraged. Reality often takes time to fully reflect a new state of consciousness. Stay loyal to the new identity even when appearances try to pull you backward. Because eventually, the world must mirror what you consistently believe yourself to be. The moment you become inwardly convinced that you are already the person who received the blessing, life begins responding differently. Opportunities that once felt impossible begin appearing naturally. Relationships shift, confidence grows, new paths unfold unexpectedly, not because luck suddenly changed, but because you changed. And when you truly become the version of yourself who already has what you desire, reality can no longer keep it away from you. From this day forward, stop saying, I hope. Stop saying, maybe someday. Stop asking when your life will finally change. Your transformation begins the moment you decide that the wish is already fulfilled. The moment you emotionally move your desire from the future into the past, you stop creating resistance. You stop chasing. You stop doubting. And that is when reality begins moving toward you faster than ever before. Remember this, the outer world always follows the inner assumption. So tonight, do not go to sleep as the person who is still waiting. Go to sleep feeling like the person whose prayer has already been answered. Feel the relief. Feel the gratitude.